Hey everyone, it's Tracy, and it's officially the most wonderful time of the year, the Halloween season. So today I'm excited to share some easy DIY costume ideas that you can recreate possibly with things you already have at home. We'll go through all the details of the clothing pieces, how to craft the accessories. Some of these will be pretty easy and some might be a little more advanced. Plus, it's been way too long since we've done an outfit video here, so let's get into it. We're gonna start super easy and do Luigi from the Mario Brothers. So there's a couple key items we'll need. We'll need overalls, which I have some that I thrifted, a green top, just using this one from my closet, boots also from my closet, and of course the hat. So I'm starting with a green baseball craft hat. This one I just got on Amazon. Green felt, white felt, and then some hot glue. With a cup or a piece of tape or anything round, trace out a circle with the white felt. With some green felt, we're gonna cut out the letter L. Hot glue those together and then hot glue them to the hat. The most easy DIY we're gonna do out of all these today. And here's how the hat turned out. I think it came out pretty cute. Super simple, but I think it definitely completes the look. Here is how that looks all together. You could definitely swap out a red hat and a red top and turn this into Mario. By the way, if you're new here, my name is Tracy and this is my video diary of life as a fangirl. I like to do things like this on a regular basis. Dress up just for fun or dress up to go to theme parks. But since it is the Halloween season and like the official dressing up season, thought it would be a fun time to share these. We're gonna go like slightly more difficult for look 2 and try Maleficent. Kind of embarrassed to admit that I've never watched the live action Maleficent movie, but I have a vision for this next one inspired by the live action look. So the main key item we'll need for this one is the horns. For our next DIY, I think the chances are pretty good that you'll have all of these items at home already. We're gonna use aluminum foil, black duct tape, and a craft headband, or any old headband that you don't mind using for a DIY. The inspiration for this comes from Pinterest. I've seen a couple different people make these horns with these supplies. So we're just gonna go for it and wing it and start with the foil. I took kind of a large piece and folded the bottom part, rolled it up and gradually sculpted it into a horn shape. The bottom of the horn is much thicker than the point. Put more layers of foil towards the bottom and less towards the top and slowly added the foil piece by piece. Make sure that the bottom of the horns is diagonal rather than just like flat. So it fits on the sides of the headband, if that makes sense. Test the size against your head as you go to make sure that everything's looking okay. Once the first horn is done, we're just going to repeat the same process with the foil for the second one. It might be a little challenging to get them perfectly symmetrical, but just do the best you can. That's what I did here. For the black duct tape, if you have a thinner roll than this, it's probably going to be easier. What we're going to do with this is roll it up over the horns, and that's kind of difficult to do with such a thick piece of tape. So I took a piece and then just ripped it in half. Starting at the bottom of the horn, I just taped it and went around and around and around, wrapping it up like a mummy. This I went piece by piece with the tape also until I had enough to get all the way to the end of the horn. So once both of the horns are ready, try on the headband and figure out where you want to glue the horns. And I just marked that off with some gel pen. Then with our best friend, the hot glue, we're going to glue this all together. The tape and the foil is still somewhat malleable after this stage. So if you need to make some adjustments, you still can. These horns were like straight up and down, so I bent them slightly backwards to match how Maleficent's are a little more. So here's how the horns turned out. They definitely came out better than I expected. My only critique though is that the headband needed to be thicker because as I speak, I can feel the instability of these. The thin one was what I had, so we're just gonna pray that these stay together for this video. For the long term, I'll probably move them to a more sturdy headband. But for the rest of this outfit, I'm thinking black on black and getting as close to the look and feel of Maleficent as we can. So I've got this dress out of my closet. This was another thrift store find. I'm not totally sure if this was intended to be a costume or like a dress. I will put the tag on the screen here in case any of you might be interested to find this on Depop or Mercari or anything out there. I feel like we need a little bit more, so I am going to layer this corset over, which is from Amazon. Then this little choker necklace and maybe a red lip too. Here's how that looks all together. I did not have high expectations at all for the horns, so I'm still like so surprised at how they came out. As for all of these, it doesn't have to be these exact items. You can definitely mix and match black dresses and black corsets to something that suits the vibe of Maleficent. I also feel like I should have said this earlier in the video, but this batch of costumes is pretty villains heavy. As some of you may know already, I'm not a princess person. And when I say princesses, I mean like poofy ball gown, pastel princess-y stuff. Star Wars royalty is an exception to this, but sometimes I do get comments asking for like princess outfits and princess content, and I'm just sorry to say that the chances of that happening are pretty low, to be totally honest. But anyways, the next costume I have in mind is another villain, which is Oogie Boogie from The Nightmare Before Christmas. I don't know if everyone has that one movie that they get like super hyper fixated on, but Nightmare Before Christmas is definitely the one for me. Since our goal is to use items from home, I'm gonna upcycle this overall dress that I have, and my vision was to add his face onto this somehow. So looking at the reference of an old Spirit jersey from Disneyland, cut out some stencils of the eyes and the mouth, then use those to cut out the felt pieces. Sewed those pieces on. For the mouth, I decided to use embroidery thread. Oogie Boogie kind of has like the stitched up look, kind of like Sally, so I wanted to add a little bit of that. I am so excited with how this one came out. I put a black top underneath, but I feel like it needs a little bit more to complete the look. So I've got some stitch tights. These I got from Amazon, and this little dice necklace, also from Amazon. I got this last year, I think, for an Oogie Boogie look. I feel like this one would be so cute as a Disney bound too. I can already tell you that I will be wearing this to the park soon. I still feel like this needs something else. If you have one of those cute craft witch hats, I think that would be perfect. And maybe put like a little spider hanging from the tip. But since I'm strictly working with what I have at home already, I might just put my hair into like a mini ponytail to kind of mimic the head shape. So here's how this one looks all together. I'm so excited about this one. Like, my lore with this movie goes very deep. Anyways. Moving on to the next one, we are gonna try Toothless. So maybe let's do a little transition. Let's start. I cannot take this transition seriously, but let's start with a black dress. This one I found at Marshall's, but really like any black outfit you might have could probably work for this one. So to turn this into a costume, we'll need a harness, a tail fin, and something for his head or for his ears. You might have guessed it, it's time for another DIY. We're gonna recreate something like these that I found on Pinterest. So our supplies are gonna be a plain black craft hat, green felt, black felt, and hot glue for later. We're gonna add Toothless's horns, ears, and eyes to the hat. So I cut out some stencils for each of those pieces. For the ear and horn pieces, I put 2 sheets of felt together and then cut them out that way. I do want to make these like 3D kind of. The eyes are pretty straightforward, just glue them together, and then on the hat, the ear pieces we're gonna turn into a little pocket, gluing around the edges like this, then stuffing the inside with some scrap fabric to give them a little more dimension and stability. Try on the hat to make sure the placement of everything looks okay, but don't glue these on while it's on your head because that is dangerous. One of the ears on mine decided to flop back a little bit, so I took a piece of extra felt and glued it to the back like this to try and make them a little more even. Here is how the hat turned out. Definitely more advanced than the Luigi hat, but I think it came out pretty cute. For a harness, I have this like belt thing. I got this from Cider a while ago. You may recall the DIY tote bag I shared here. There was a version 1 of this that was a fail. So I cut the tail fin out of that, sewed on this little keyring that I got from Michael's to turn it into a keychain, but essentially it's just a piece of red fabric cut into this shape with acrylic paint to paint this symbol on. If you're doing this outfit with pants, I think this would be cute to clip on like the belt loop or like the back to make it more accurate to tail, I guess. But I kind of want to use this as a bag charm. So I've got this little black shoulder purse that is also from Marshall's that we're going to use as the vessel for this bag charm. So here is how that looks all together. I'm using pretty much the same combat boots for all of these outfits. They're all Soda Fling combat boots, an affordable knockoff of Doc Martens, I'd say is the best way to describe them. You could definitely do this idea as a Light Fury too, with a white outfit and a white hat. And now I'm like super excited because the next two I have to share are Star Wars ones. So next up, we're gonna do a Princess Leia look. We're gonna recreate her A New Hope look, her most recognizable look, I feel like. So I'll need a white outfit, her belt, and then her buns. So I'm gonna start out with a white top and a white mini skirt. Both the top and the bottom I'm using here are from Cider. And again, the possibilities for the base part is like endless. You could use a white dress or pretty much any white skirt and top combo. The belt and the hairstyle is really gonna make this outfit. You can find Leia costume belts on like Amazon or eBay, or like similar looking fashion belts, or you can go the DIY route, which is what I did. She's definitely seen better days. The story behind this one is that it was a used Leia costume belt that I bought from Depop. It was kind of falling apart when it came, so the silver parts I remade out of EVA foam, painted all those silver and glued them on. Like, unless you're super delicate with these, the paint can chip off pretty easily, but it is one option. If you have a plain white belt, you could possibly even do like aluminum foil or duct tape, but since this one is what I have, we're gonna work with it. So next up we have the buns, and these look slightly horrifying, but let me explain. They're fake hair with a clip inside from my collection of accessories for Disney bounds and outfits. Before we add these, we're gonna start with just 2 plain pigtails. kind of low just behind the ear. Found out about these and the method I'm about to share from Magic with Meg, so shout out to her. So we're gonna take that claw clip and put it directly over the hair tie, twist the pigtail all the way down, wrap it around the bun so it kind of blends together until we get to the tail, which I'm just gonna kind of shove into the claw clip. Same thing on the other side, over the pigtail, twist, wrap it around, and then clip in the end. There is how they are looking. The fake hair on the clip-in adds so much more volume too. And that's pretty much it for this Princess Leia look. I like to dress it up with some leg warmers and some white boots. For the second Star Wars look, we're going to go from the light side to the dark side, from the daughter to the father, and do Darth Vader. So I'm going to start with a long black maxi skirt and this black top, which was kind of a DIY. Definitely feeling more in my element already here. The long skirt is another item from Cider. The top is kind of a long story. This was a cape dress that I thrifted. I did not like the shape of it, so I cut it into a top, and as you probably noticed, sewed on some Velcro here, which is where another piece is going to go. But you could also do the base with just a plain black top and add a cape on, or you could get a cape dress that has sleeves like this and just use the dress as is. I should also preface this by saying we're doing like a feminine Darth Vader. I'm not gonna wear a helmet or anything. There is a belt and chest piece combo that is out there on Amazon and eBay, which is what I'm gonna use, but by all means you could also DIY these pieces. I have tried in the past with EVA foam. It was kind of a lot of work. Had to like cut out each individual button out of the foam. I just wanted to mention that as a possibility too. But here's what the Amazon chest plate looks like. It's a very thick plastic and it has some weight to it, but there is Velcro on the back. So we're just going to attach this on to this Velcro. The belt piece that came with this set is like this. So I'm just going to put that over the skirt. You could stop here. I feel like this is enough to distinguish that it's Vader. You could add some gloves or a lightsaber or a helmet if you wanted to. But what I'm going to do is add a Darth Vader helmet Loungefly bag, possibly the most used bag that I've shared on this channel. It does also have a mini lightsaber from Disneyland on there. Oh, also chain necklace, chunky silver chain necklace, kind of like the one that's on his cape. And with that, here's the finished Darth Vader look. For the final look today, we are going to do Sally. Definitely the most advanced level DIY out of these. This was my big Halloween craft last year, but we're going to walk through the process in case you might want to recreate this too. I am going to repurpose and recycle some old clothes for this one, which is what I kind of feel that Sally would do. So I went through my closet and went to the thrift store looking for pieces that matched her color palette. She has pretty specific patterns and some of the things I had weren't an exact match. So I used some acrylic paints mixed with fabric medium to paint those patterns on by hand, which it seems like a lot, but it was very, very relaxing, I must say. I am definitely not a professional sewer and I don't think I could make a complete dress from scratch. So I used this slip that I had kind of as the base to sew on each of the fabric patches. So with that laid out flat on the floor and looking at a million reference images from the movie, I cut out the fabrics into the patches that matched her as close as I could get. Some other details like these polka dots I just glued on with fabric glue. All of this is much easier said than done. This whole process took me about 3 or 4 days total and a lot of hours in each of those days. The longest part of the process by far was sewing everything on. I pinned everything in place and tried to sew multiple patches to the dress together at once, if that makes sense. But the good part about this is that you don't have to worry about hiding the stitches because Sally's stitches are very visible and very dramatic. I just used regular thread here, but if you wanted to make the stitches stand out more, you could definitely use embroidery thread. The sleeves were also another challenge. I did not have the confidence to sew these from scratch, so I used a couple clothing pieces that had sleeves already and then just cut those off and sewed them on. Many hours later, the dress was complete, and to finish off this DIY Sally look, I drew on some stitches with some eyeliner and then took some photos of the completed look in the forest, and that is my take on how to put together a Sally costume. And with that, that is all the costume ideas I have for today. I hope that these might have brought some inspiration. I'm just so excited that it's finally Halloween season. I have a lot more that I hope to share this season, both from the Disneyland parks and possibly beyond. If you enjoyed this, please leave a like and consider subscribing. Thank you so much for being here and for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.